Well. I love that opening.
It's
I love
great.
that opening. It is great. He does such a good job at that Culture Casino. He is a great dude. How is everybody this fine evening?
Doing great.
Yeah, pretty good.
Fantastic. This is a stream by the Crossroads. Yes, it is our game or a Song of Ice and Fire book club and reread. And we are on Clash of Kings, chapter 1 through 3. And tonight with us, we have Jayne Theory. How are you, Jayne?
Hey, doing great. Happy to be here.
I am too. And Miss Martin Muses, how are you?
I'm doing great. So much better. Happy to be here. And I'm just so excited. Every time that intro happens, I get the chills. And it's like, yay.
It is. It's a good intro. Like I could watch that multiple times. I really think he did a great job with it. It gets me pumped up to go over this stuff. What's that?
I was saying it gets you hype. It's like a hype video.
It does. One of these days we'll have like a lot of people waiting. Maybe when like Winds of Winter drops, and we'll throw that and people will get hyped. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Even rewatching it, I get hyped.
Yeah.
It's a hype. It's a hippity hype. Let's see who's in the chat. And that's McKinney. How are you, McKinney? Thank you for being Makini. Sorry, Makini 90. I call him McKinney. Long story. But he is here dropping links, dropping people's pages, telling you smash the like button. And I am grateful for that. So thank you, buddy. So we just got through the prologue last week. Because it was a diesel-sized prologue, and we finally now get into some chapters with our point of view characters that we know and either love or hate. We have Arya. We're going to start with Sansa and Tyrion. Anything about those 3 chapters that jumped out at you? Like not like a basic thing. You know, we don't have to go into detail yet, but
just that we still see the comment from everybody's perspective.
Yes.
And the different interpretations that not only they have, but also what other people have, like conflicting thoughts on what it means. So yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
Right. I do like, you know, you get the prologue, you know, it's a showing that the coming of R'hllor is here, and then Crescent has his own views on it, and then you get Arya, it's ice, you know. Well, we'll get into that, but it is really cool seeing everybody else's ideas of what this comet is, and that's the way it would be in any world event. If you think about it, different cultures, different people seeing the comet differently. So it almost ties the book together, right?
Yeah.
You know, and just remember, old Nan is always right.
Yes.
She is always right. So we're going to start out with a summary reading of each of the chapters, and then we'll discuss them. We usually get our summary reading from Westeros.org, which is a wiki of Ice and Fire. And that is a great resource for anybody who enjoys A Song of Ice and Fire. And Jayne, you're going to read Arya 1, and then we'll talk about it.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Arya 1. Arya used to think her nickname of Arya Horseface was bad until the orphan boy Lamy Greenhands named her Lumpy Head because of her lumpy, uneven haircut. Her head actually feels lumpy when she touches it. When Yoren dragged her into an alley after her father's execution, Arya was sure he meant to kill her. Instead, the smelly old black brother had only cut her hair and promised to deliver her to her home at Winterfell when he and his new recruits passed by. However, Yoren insisted that she pretend to be an orphan boy named Ari because half of the new recruits would turn her over to Queen Cersei quick as spit for a pardon and a few silvers, and the other half would do the same but rape her first. Yoren claimed it should not be too hard to pass as a boy. The hardest part would be passing her water in the woods alone. There are 30 of them. Some of the recruits are orphan boys recruited with promises of food and clothing, but others are criminals from the dungeons under the Red Keep. The most frightening are the 3 from the Black Cells, whom Yoren keeps chained in the back of a wagon. The 5 wagons contained supplies for the wall: hides, bars of pig iron, a cage of ravens, cloth, books, paper, ink, sour leaf, oil, medicines, and spices. The gates of King's Landing were easy to pass, just as Jorn claimed. The Lannister guards were searching for the highborn daughter of the Hand of the King, not a skinny boy with his hair chopped off. Jorn called one of them by name, and they were waved through. As they were leaving, Arya wished that Blackwater Rush would rise and wash away the city, until she remembered her sister would be washed away too. Instead, she decided to wish for Winterfell. Jorn was wrong about passing water being the hardest part. The men ignored her, but the orphan boy, Lamy Greenhands, and Hot Pie take her silence to mean she's frightened, stupid, or deaf. Arya is 2 years younger and quite a bit smaller than them. One morning, Lamy and Hot Pie began questioning Arya about her sword, Needle, wondering where she got it. Hot Pie sarcastically suggests that maybe she was a squire, but Lamy disagrees and argues that Needle is probably not even a real sword. Arya angrily shouts back that it is castle forged steel, but this only gives rise to claims that she stole it. This angers Arya even more because Needle was a gift from her bastard brother Jon Snow, and she will not let them call him a thief. Then Hot Pie gets the idea that he can steal Needle from her, and Lamy encourages him. Hot Pie's declaration that she doesn't even know how to use a sword takes Arya back to the stable boy she stabbed during her escape from the Red Keep, but she doesn't mention the incident. The boys continue to mock her, saying that she's going to cry and wet her pants. The bull, an older boy with shaggy black hair and a bull motif helmet, tells them to let her be, but Hot Pie continues. Arya attempts to defuse the situation by offering to surrender her wooden practice sword, but Hot Pie threatens to beat her up like he did another boy and reaches for Needle. Arya uses her practice sword to whack Hot Pie's donkey. The animal bucks and throws Hot Pie to the ground. Arya dismounts and breaks his nose with her practice sword before turning on Lamy, who cowers away in fear. The bull shouts a warning, and Arya turns to face Hot Pie. The injured boy throws a rock at her, but Arya ducks and closes the distance to strike him again on the hand, cheek, knee, and back of the head. Dazed and wounded, Hot Pie attempts to charge her, but Arya slips into a water dancer pose and stabs the boy in the groin. By the time Jorn pulls her off, Arya has hit Hot Pie a dozen more times, and the boy's pants are brown and smelly. Jorn drags her off the road into a tangle of trees, cursing and muttering. There he orders her to drop her breeches and scream loudly, then whacks her several times with her own stick sword. Arya does not want to scream, but can't help it, and her thighs and cheeks are ablaze with pain. When he's finished, Jorn tells her that if she ever uses her stick sword on one of her companions again, she'll get twice what she gives. Jorn also explains that however much her punishment hurt, Hot Pie is feeling much worse. He points out that Hot Pie and Lamy had no part in her father's death, and hitting them won't bring him back. Arya says she knows that. Jorn goes on to explain that he was set to leave when he received a message to wait for Lord Eddard, who was supposed to be allowed to take the Black, only something went queer. Arya blames King Joffrey and declares someone should kill him. Jorn replies that someone will, but not him and not her. Afterwards, Arya is unable to sit a donkey for several days, but Hot Pie is unable to do anything but lie in the back of a wagon for even longer, and Lamy stays as far from her as possible. The bull points out that Lamy twitches whenever she looks at him now. Arya does not answer since it seems safer not to talk. That night, while looking up at the sky, the bull calls the red comet the Red Sword, saying that it looks like a sword fresh from the forge. Arya can see it as a sword as well, but to her, it's her father's great sword, Ice, covered with her father's blood, as it was after his head was cut off. When she finally falls asleep, Arya dreams of Winterfell. She longs to see her mother, Robb, Bran, and Rickon, but more than anyone, she misses her brother Jon on the wall. She wishes that somehow they could come to the wall before Winterfell, just so she could see Jon again.
Thank you, Jayne. And before we go talk about the topic, thank you to Toxic Man Flu for $5. OG Spork Dork dropping by to say hi. Need to get back to work. Will listen as long as I can. I hope you're still listening, my friend. Thank you very much for that $5. Short chapter, but a good one.
Yeah.
A lot going on. It's, the first time we really see Arya since her father was killed, and, she is pretending to be a boy. What do you guys think about it?
I was shocked at how vicious it was when that dude was beating Arya. But I mean, she's a girl. Yep. I mean, she's a child, and man.
Right. I thought about that too. And it's one of those things where he might have even leaned in harder because to prove to the others she isn't something special. I think he might have added some. When Yoren's smacking her, like just beating her butt, I'm guessing he treats all the boys that way, but he had to definitely make sure people knew that Ari was going to get punished, so they didn't, because they already maybe think she could be somebody, a squire or somebody that knows lords,
Mm-hmm. But I also think he was addressing behavior that he didn't want to get out of hand too, because she was taking out her anger and her frustration on these other kids, and I was actually shocked at the viciousness of her behavior.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she could have killed those kids,
She went at it.
She did, and for it's understandable, but it's like if she continues to behave that way, she's either going to hurt someone, get herself hurt, or draw all of the attention to her and end up getting discovered. So I sort of saw it as him intervening when needed and probably saving her in that moment.
Yeah, I mean, there is a point where, like, Hot Pie, Gendry's like, turn behind you, and she turns, and Hot Pie hums the rock at her head, and that's when she like does her little water dance move and unloads on the kid. And in my mind, she made sure. Now, granted, she was getting her anger out, but she also made sure they were never going to mess with her again.
Yeah, but it seems like she went overboard because, like, they say that
she definitely did.
Like that he wasn't in a hospital after, but he was in the wagon. After
bloody.
Yeah.
I think it's showing that Arya too she's vicious, wild, and dangerous. That she's not just a kid with a sword. I don't want to use the word murderer, but she's a killer.
Yeah. I mean, she has killed.
Mm-hmm.
And separate from the show, it's kind of funny because in the show, she says a lot more than she does in the book. You hear her thoughts. She does, like in the show, she tells somebody about the killing of that boy. But here she says in italics, so it's in her head, "Yes, I do," Arya could have said. "I killed the boy, a fat boy like you. I stabbed him in the belly and he died. And I could kill you too if you don't let me, don't let me alone." So, unlike the show, she's actually like holding back and thinking about these things, like instead of, thank God, like saying it out loud and like Hot Pie saying that he killed a boy by kicking him in the nuts.
Yeah. And that was dramatic necessity for the show, but yes, it was just a brutal chapter for me. It was very hard for me because, like, I guess I don't like to see children and all the children, Yeah.
And that's the thing too about this chapter is you see how these random kids are living under such harsh circumstances. There's nobody really to take care of them except themselves.
You know what else I like to think about is like if it was Arya Stark of Winterfell with them, she would get along with all of them because she is a very friendly girl, but she's actually seeing what it's like when you don't have the name and title, that kids can be as cruel as anyone else.
Yeah.
Like would the butcher's boy, or not the butcher's boy, but yeah, or Micah, the butcher's boy, would he have been her friend if she was just, a lowborn kid also? Like, I wonder if, because in Game of Thrones, you see how she gets along with all these people that are not highborn. And is that because she's Arya Stark of Winterfell and they treat her, because she's treating them nice, they treat her nice?
Right.
Or is it because that's who she is? From the rip, she already has interactions with other people that is confrontational.
And she's always been a little rough around the edges too. She's had that part of her. So these circumstances could be bringing that out even more so.
Yep.
And I mean, that's what happens too with with a wolf in the wild, especially if they feel threatened. They become more prone to violence.
Yeah, they really do. You're absolutely right. I do like we get the first inkling of how her story goes in a way. After she got, the switch hit her and she doesn't want to cry out, she thinks, I won't do that. I'm a Stark of Winterfell. Our sigil is a direwolf. Direwolves don't cry. That's like her mantra, like she always reminds herself who she is, as she is somebody else right now.
Right.
And that's something for people that are reading this for the first time to hold on to. Arya definitely always reminds herself who she is and where she's from.
Yes.
And even at the very end, when she's sleeping, instead of thinking of the waters rushing in and taking King's Landing, because her sister's there. Okay, I can't think that. What do I think about? I think of Winterfell, because that is home. And I think that's a huge part of her story, is being a Stark.
Yes.
Whereas, like someone like Jon is, where is my place in the world? Because I'm not a Stark. It's kind of, they play off each other kind of in a way, if you look at that. And I didn't really, there's also something, I don't know if you guys caught this either. I didn't catch it the first time I read it. And this is probably the second time I've really gone through reading it deeply. Like the first time I really was reading it, but I didn't notice this part. When Yoren's explaining that Eddard was supposed to take the black, he says, here's something you don't know. It wasn't supposed to happen like it did. I was set to leave, wagons bought and loaded, and a man comes with me with a boy for me and a purse of coin and a message. Never mind whose it's from. Lord Eddard to take the black, he says to me. Wait, he'll be going with you. Why do you think I was there? Only something went queer. Now, is that who do you think that person is that gave him a boy and a purse of gold?
I think it's Varys.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
And if it's Varys and he gave him a boy, who's to say who that boy was? And is that one of his little birds?
Right. I did not get
Right?
that.
So the whole time, Arya is with Yoren. Or even beyond that, we don't know. Somebody is working for Varys. And I'd never caught that.
Oh my goodness.
Kind of nuts. Like,
that's crazy.
Could it be Hot Pie? Could it be Lamy? Could it be Gendry? Who could it be? We do get a little bit of everybody's stories, but they could also be fudging it.
I don't think it's Gendry, but
no,
it
right.
Could be one of the other kids.
It could be, right? And then we also get a little taste of 3 guys locked up in there's 3 people from the dungeons that Yoren has chained all the time.
Right.
That must tell you something when Yoren's picking from rapists and murderers that he only locks up 3 of them.
Right.
Yeah,
So-
they're pretty bad.
Right.
The
So
worst
there
part.
are, for a short chapter, there is a lot that happens in this chapter. And it's kind of funny because when we go, I actually have the book in my hand for once. Usually I listen to the summary and try to remember things. And while you were reading the summary, I was just flipping through and I'm like, wait a minute. There is so much that happened in this little chapter that I completely forgot about. And it makes me feel good that 2 things. She remembers her water dance lessons,
Mhm.
and automatically it's like, she learned it so well that she automatically goes into it. So the training worked. And then the last person she really thinks of is John,
Right.
messing her hair up and calling her little sister. Just some stuff that I thought was really good.
Poor thing.
Yeah, right. You got to feel for the kid. We got the Time Prophet here. What's up, brother? We have Smooth Jam California saying, hey guys, good to see you. You're back. And finally onto the second book. Can't wait for the Davos chapters. I agree with you on that. Did I say stork?
I
thought
don't know,
it said
but that was funny.
I don't know. And all right, so we are, yes, I did see that too. My good friend PJ over at Orville Nation had the director, like 2 of the directors, I believe, from Stargate, which is incredible. That's so dope.
The best
So
stars,
hail,
okay?
Orville Nation. He is killing it. PJ's killing it over there. So congratulations to him. I hope he keeps it up. And anybody listening to this now or later that doesn't know Orville Nation, please throw him a sub because he is awesome. Anything else?
Nope.
Do we know in this chapter why he has green hands?
I don't recall.
I just remember it starting out like them calling her Lumpy Head. And Arya once again she thought Arya Horseface was bad. Now they're calling her Lumpy Head, and when she feels her head, she's like, it is lumpy. I thought that was kind of funny. But yeah, I definitely, when rereading this, I'm going to keep an eye on if there's any sign of who that boy was that Varys gave Yoren, because I never noticed it before. But if nothing else, we could jump on to Sansa. And Miss Martin Muses is going to read the summary.
Okay, here we go. Let's have some Sansa, who everyone just adores. Synopsis.
I was literally laughing with my unmuted I was muted right there, but I was actually laughing out loud because, I can't stand her either.
I know. I was thinking, maybe no one got the joke. Okay.
No, totally got it. That's why I unmuted so you knew, because I knew you were like, wait a minute, that was funny. And yes, it was funny. All right.
Okay, thank you. Okay, here we go. Sansa is watching the long tail of the red comet from her tower window when Sir Aerys Oakheart arrives to escort her to the tourney on King Joffrey's name day. She asks him what it means. Dun, dun, dun. Sir Aerys declares that it means glory to her betrothed, King Joffrey. The gods have raised it as a banner in his honor, and the small folk have named it King Joffrey's Comet. Sansa is not so sure and replies that she has heard the servants call it the Dragon's Tail. Sir Aerys replies that Joffrey sits on Aegon the Dragon's throne, and crimson is the color of House Lannister, so it must mean that he will triumph over his enemies. Sansa wonders apprehensively if this is true, since her mother and brother are among Joffrey's enemies. Yet Joffrey is a Baratheon as much as a Lannister, so his comet should be gold. Sir Aerys compliments Sansa on her gown, whose long sleeves hide the bruises given to her by Sir Boros Blount at Joffrey's command when he learned that her brother Robb had been proclaimed king in the north. All of the Kingsguard, Sir Aerys is of all the Kingsguard, Sir Aerys is always courteous to Sansa, and is her preferred escort since he's the only one who objects to hitting her and never hits hard. The others all obey without question, except Sandor Clegane, but Joffrey never commands the Hound to hit her. As they walk, Sansa asks who will win the tourney. Sir Aerys states he will, though there will be only 40 contestants, and there is small honor in unhorsing green boys. Sansa muses that this will be very different from the magnificent hands tourney, with King Robert dead and 3 kings vying for power. It is not surprising that Joffrey's tourney must be held in the Red Keep. Sansa asks if Queen Cersei will attend, but learns that the Queen has urgent business with the small council. Sir Aerys also mentions that Cersei is furious that Tywin Lannister will not bring his army to the city as commanded. The pitiful crowd in the small outer bailey fills only half the seats. Most of the spectators are gold cloaks or wear the crimson of House Lannister. Only a few are nobility. Grey-faced Lord Giles Rosby, Lady Tonda Stokeworth, with her daughters Falsey and Lollies, the exiled prince, gosh darn it, I don't know how to say these names, and Lady Ermesond Hayford, who is only a baby. The Hound announces Sansa's arrival at the royal box. Princess Marcella gives a shy nod, but Prince Tommen excitedly tells her that he is to ride in the tourney. Joffrey quickly interjects that Tommen will be riding against Estrella Quintain. After Sir Aerys excuses himself, Joffrey studies Sansa and declares he is pleased she wore the stones he gave her. Sansa is relieved that Joffrey has chosen to play the gallant today. Once Sansa is seated, Joffrey informs her that the beggar king Viserys Targaryen is dead. Joffrey is amused by the irony of a dragon king being killed with a molten gold crown. He suggests that perhaps he will feed Sansa's brother Robb to wolves and boasts that he intends to challenge Robb to single combat. Sansa states she would like to see that. Joffrey is suspicious of her meaning, so Sansa distracts him by asking if he will compete today. Joffrey responds that his mother claims it would not be fitting for him to compete in his own tourney, otherwise he would be champion. When asked to concur, the Hound says, "Against this lot, why not?" When Sansa asks the Hound if he will joust, the scarred man replies that it would not be worth the bother, since this is a tourney of gnats. Joffrey suggests he should make the Hound fight the champion to the death, but the Hound replies that Joffrey would only be one knight the poorer, and the Hound is not a knight. When the trumpets sound, Joffrey takes Sansa's hand, which repulses her, but she forces herself to be still. In the first joust, Sir Mirren Tarrant of the Kingsguard defeats Sir Hobber Redwine on the second pass. The Redwine twins are hostages like Sansa, and she doubts they entered the tourney voluntarily. Joffrey is disappointed by the poor show. Next, Sir Balon Swan faces the new-made squire Morris Slint, who is having difficulty with his lance. The sight of Janos Slint's heir takes Sansa back to the day her father was beheaded. It was Janos Slint who threw her father down and held him, while Sir Aelin Payne swung the sword. Her prayer for Morris to embarrass himself is answered when the former commoner is violently unhorsed. Joffrey hoots in derision, telling Tommen that they picked the wrong foe for him. Morris jousts worse than a Quintain. Then it is Sir Horace Redwine's turn. He fares better than his twin, unhorsing an old knight bedecked with silver griffins who make a poor contest. Disgusted, Joffrey declares this a feeble show. He is getting bored and his mood is darkening, which worries Sansa. Next, Sir Dantos Hullard is called to face the free rider Lothar Brune. Brune takes his place, but Sir Dantos arrives drunk and half naked, struggling to catch and mount his horse. The audiences all laugh at the drunken knight's antic, except for Joffrey. Eventually, Dantos gives up trying to mount, sits down in the dirt, forfeits the match, and asks for more wine. Joffrey stands and shouts, "A cask from the cellars. I'll see him drowned in it." Without thinking, Sansa protests and is immediately shocked that she dared, given Joffrey's mood. He turns on her, furious at being gainsayed, and Sansa struggles to make up a story that it is a curse to kill a man on one's name day. Joffrey does not believe her, but the Hound comes to her rescue by agreeing that what a man sows on his name day, he reaps throughout the year. Joffrey reluctantly agrees to have the fool killed on the morrow. Sansa seizes the opportunity to suggest that Joffrey make Dontos wear motley and clown for him as a fool instead of executing him. He does not deserve the mercy of a quick death. Joffrey likes the idea and agrees. Sir Dontos thanks both Joffrey and Sansa. Once Sir Dontos has been led away, the Master of Revels inquires whether he should summon a new opponent for Lothar Brune or proceed with the next tilt. Instead, Joffrey calls off the tourney in disgust, saying he would have them all put to death if it weren't for his name day. Tommen vehemently protests that he was supposed to ride against the Quintain. An argument among the royal siblings ensues. When Myrcella finally points out that their mother agreed, Joffrey mocks her for being childish. But Myrcella points out that they are children. The Hound, laughing, tells Joffrey that she has a point. Joffrey sullenly agrees. Tommen's opponent is a child-sized Quintain wearing a helmet with antlers. Tommen hits it solidly, but it spins around to strike Tommen on the back of the head, unhorsing him. This incites a gale of laughter from the crowd, most of all from King Joffrey. Princess Myrcella rushes to help her brother to his feet. Sansa, with queer courage, suggests that Joffrey should accompany her to help and tell Tommen he rode well. Joffrey angrily refuses, stating that getting unhorsed is not riding well. However, Tommen shows courage when he prepares to try again. Sansa finds herself wishing that Tommen was the eldest child. She wouldn't mind marrying him. Just then the portcullis rises, and the gates of the Red Keep open. A column of dusty horsemen enter under the golden lion banner of the House Lannister. Some of the horsemen wear the armor of Lannister men-at-arms, but the majority are free riders, sellswords, and monstrous savages. In their midst rides Tyrion Lannister, the ugliest man Sansa has ever set her eyes upon. Tommen and Myrcella rush to greet their uncle, and Sansa is stunned to see that Tommen and Tyrion are the same height. After greeting his niece and nephew, the dwarf waddles over to Joffrey, shadowed by a black-haired sellsword and a one-eyed savage. When Tyrion greets him, Joffrey expresses surprise at Tyrion's arrival, and the Hound comments that they heard Tyrion was dead. Myrcella expresses happiness that he is alive. Tyrion thanks her and then gives his condolences to Joffrey and Sansa for the loss of their fathers. Sansa is speechless, wondering if Tyrion is mocking her. Joffrey is momentarily confused until Tyrion reminds him that his own father, King Robert, has also recently died. Joffrey responds, "Oh, him. Yes, it was very sad. A boar killed him." Tyrion asks him if that is what they say. Sansa, armoring herself in courtesy, apologizes to Tyrion for his abduction by her mother. Tyrion thanks Sansa for the sentiment, telling her that many people are sorry, and some will be even sorrier. Then, Tyrion asks Joffrey where he might find Queen Cersei. Joffrey answers that she is with the small council. Jaime Lannister keeps losing battles and was captured. River Run was lost, and Robb is calling himself king. Tyrion comments that all sorts of people are calling themselves kings these days. Suspicious of the comment, Joffrey tells Tyrion stiffly that he is happy he is alive and asks about a gift for his name day. Tyrion responds that he has brought his wits, and Joffrey replies he would prefer Robb's head. Before Joffrey departs with Myrcella and Tommen, the Hound tells Tyrion to guard his tongue. Sansa is left alone with Tyrion and his monsters. Unable to think of anything to say, Sansa comments on Tyrion's injured arm. Tyrion tells her that a Northman hit him with a morning star, but he escaped by falling off his horse. Tyrion asks if it is mourning for her father that makes Sansa so sad. Sansa reflexively insists that her father, mother, and brother are traitors and that she is loyal to her beloved Joffrey. Tyrion is unconvinced and responds by comparing her to a deer surrounded by wolves. Sansa, without thinking, whispers, lions. The dwarf gently takes her hand and assures her that he is only a little lion and means her no harm, then departs. Sansa notes that Tyrion speaks to her more gently than Joffrey, but then she remembers that Queen Cersei once spoke gently as well. She reminds herself that Tyrion is still a Lannister, and that she must never trust a Lannister again. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun. Thank you very much. Starting to learn a little bit, isn't she?
Yeah.
Yes.
Took her long enough.
Yeah, took her definitely long enough. Hello, real quick too. Happy Dinosaur 8000 Bone. Who else is here? Cash. I always say her name wrong. Kashi. Okay,
one?
let's try that. It's Orange lovely Kashik. Is it Kashik or Kashik? Like I'm thinking cash. Cold money. She's a queen. That's all I know. A queen. Thank you for being here. And I'm sorry I always screw Amber. I'm sorry I screw up your, the name you have on here, but you're a sweetheart. So thank you for being here. And I think that's all. Oh, and Zachariah 315. Thank you for being here. Another little bit longer of a chapter, a good chapter. Sansa. Now you have Arya kind of biting her tongue a little bit at the beginning of her chapter. Sansa slipping out using her courtesy, but saying some stuff that can get her in a lot of trouble.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
Yeah.
It was kind of smart of her to cover it up by saying it was bad luck to kill on a name day. I was like, oh, girl can think.
Yeah. Her courtesy is her weapon. They say that in the first book, a lady's courtesy is her weapon. She really does know how to, think about it. She is a traitor's daughter, betrothed to the king, something you can't break without the okay of the faith. And so until that can happen, or if that does happen, Sansa is surrounded by enemies.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. As Tyrion said very well.
Yes. Yeah, I love how she doesn't know if she could trust them.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. She's finally seeing that these people can't be trusted, and she's also learning how to use words in a manipulative fashion, and how to bend the truth when she needs to, all to survive.
Right. Yeah, she had to learn fast. Again, like you said, we see the comet being named for Joffrey. That's pretty funny, and her saying, well, I thought I hear the common people calling it the dragon's tail or something like that. And Sir Oakheart saying, well, he sits on Aegon's seat. And while he's talking about, she thinks how he's a nice one because he doesn't hit her as hard, and he does protest.
Yeah.
So she has been poorly treated now for however long it's been since her father's death. It must have been at least a few weeks, I would think.
And the fact that she has fresh bruises, that's pretty messed up.
It's tough. Her chapters can be tough sometimes.
He has her beaten every time he thinks about it. Like every time he thinks about her family or gets bad news about them, about the war, he lashes out.
She gets hit.
Yeah.
How messed up is that? And Rob has been winning, so she's getting beat pretty good. Your Uncle Jamie, Dad, Daddy is getting, he got captured. I wonder how bad she got beat for that.
Speaking of which, I thought that was hilarious that when Tyrion brought up Joffrey's father being dead, that he didn't catch which father he was talking about.
Like when yeah, he says, I'm sorry for both your father's deaths, and he had no clue what the hell he was talking about. That's great. But it also goes to show you, like, Tommen, who is so they're Baratheons, but they're Lannisters.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, yes, I understand your uncles are your foes right now, but you have your little brother riding against a Lannister or a Baratheon, armor, something with antlers on it. Yet that is also your house sigil.
Yeah.
No more though. Well, yeah, like he's, all of the Targaryens took the Targaryen, no matter who their mother was, they took a Targaryen sigil. For him to mix the two sigils, it just goes to show you who's really in charge.
Yeah. And I think it goes, well, it's strange.
It says a lot about his dad too.
It does, and I think it says a lot about Cersei's influence, because she just she couldn't accept being a Baratheon with the way he treated her. And she pretty much raised her kids as Lannisters. That's all they know.
Right. Right. Let's see. Sir,
they control the military
Janos.
too, so that's where there's power. I guess they want to associate with that name that means the most in terms of actual influence.
Right. Right. I mean, if you really think about it, if they were Baratheons, all their houses that are supposed to be sworn to the Baratheons are fighting against them.
Right.
Yeah. Either with one of the brothers or the other brother. So to be considered a Lannister is probably better for them politically and strategically right now.
Right.
We get some people's names out there that are in this pathetic name day tourney. I like the little banter between the Hound. I also, bring up the people beating her. The Hound is never, ever once told to hit her. And I wonder if Joffrey knows he won't. Like, why would Joffrey not have his dog smack her? I always wondered about that.
I think he knows that he will refuse, and that will make him look terrible.
Right, because if he allows it, he'll look weak.
Yep. And then he would have to kill him and
lose his number one sword.
Exactly. Though I love the way that Clegane goes, well, then you'd be down a knight, and I'm not a knight. So
right. Yep. I mean, he knows he's badass. I mean, he won. He could have won the other tourney, really. I mean, he was going head to toe with his brother, the Mountain, until Robert told them to stop. So he's a badass. He is a badass. But we do hear about people that will become names you hear, like Sir Balin Swan and Moros, Lord Janos of Harrenhal, heir to Lord Janos of Harrenhal. So, hold on. Moros Slant, or Janos. Wait a minute. Yeah, it's Janos Slant. So, Moros is his heir, his son, who Janos Slant was the one that turned on. He was the head of the Gold Cloaks and went against Ned. So he betrayed Ned. And when Ned's head got cut off, Moros raised it up and showed it to the king. So I personally can't stand the Slants. I guess they're the Slants house, Slynt. But it is funny that the kid, and this goes for something later on, but he's celebrating a beheading.
Yeah.
I just love foreshadowing in this story.
Yeah.
Um,
And oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
One thing that struck me about this chapter was how Tommen and Myrcella seemed to really, really adore Tyrion.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah,
like, wow.
that's actually a really good one. And how right from the rip, Sansa thinks of him as the most disgusting creature, she's ever seen. And he's the only one that ever talks to her with respect.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. Well, and the way that children see things that adults don't. They see things more clearly. And it's in general, but also in this story so far, it's children who seem to have that second sight.
Yep. I do like how Marcella stands up to him too.
Mm-hmm.
He Tommen wants to ride, he's saying no, and then he mocks him. And she said, or mother said I could ride. She said, and then they mock him, don't be childish. And she's like, we are children, Marcella declared. We're supposed to be childish. I thought that was great. And the Hound laughed and said she has you there.
She is a princess, so she's probably the safest one of the bunch. The only one who can really stand up to him. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because if he killed her, I mean, that would be really bad.
Yeah, that's probably something he could even get in trouble for, even being the king.
Yeah.
And she's loved by people, so that could really screw him. What else was there that I thought was good?
And about their relationship with Tyrion, I actually think that was a reflection, probably too, of their similarity. Oh, never mind. I would jump too far ahead.
Yeah, a little too far ahead on that, but we could talk about that later. I do like how Tommen falls from the horse, but he gets back up.
Yes.
I feel like that might be foreshadowing that the show didn't give us a Tommen that we did not see. I know he's young. He's like fighting a paper, like a fake thing, which, oh God, I can't even really go into that either. I just think Tommen will be a stronger character, even though he's a young kid, that he showed in an older self in the show. Maybe I can put it like that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and the poor little boy, he was so excited, and Joffrey's trying to make fun of him because he wasn't really having a real battle. And I'm like, what a jerk. He's a little baby boy, and the fact that they were trying to get him to be nice.
Right. But
Joffrey's not capable of being nice.
No. And Sansa thinks, like, I wish I was marrying him. I wish I was marrying Tommen. That just goes to show you how far she has come from the gallant knight or king that she would marry to, I really would take an 8-year-old boy right now over this guy. It's kind of sad. What did I just see? Something here. I would love to hear what Ord's boomered. That'd be great to hear. I just saw someone wrote something I kind of wanted to go over. The Hound needs his own Mandalorian type show. I would watch a Hound solo show. I totally would watch that. I'm sorry, I'm not one of these people. I hated the last few seasons of Game of Thrones. I'm excited for House of the Dragon.
Really?
Yep. Because they're going to be, it's a book. It's a book show. They're going to go by the book.
And the book is done.
Yeah, it's done. You know it. But I'm talking history-wise. They're going by the book. So, granted, there's only a few...
completed, so they don't have to make stuff up, which is what they had to do.
Right. Exactly. The book's already done. You have George involved. I have a feeling it will be very good. We'll talk about maybe that at the end if we have some time. Just the idea of one person they casted, I was kind of shocked by the age. But other than that, I'm excited just to see what they're going to do with it.
Okay.
So, that'll be fun.
I'm just too cynical. I don't trust anyone anymore to make good adaptations.
Yeah, well, Dan and Dave did a really good job when they had, the books to go by. It's the minute they got past the books or towards the end of the books that they really screwed the pooch. And you got somebody that George likes running this show, and George is involved. I have a feeling it will be good because the story they're telling, like Jayne said, has already been told and done. We know the ending. I just want to see how they get there. How they plan on filling in some of the gaps because it's a history book that we kind of read, like the Rogue Prince, the Princess and the Queen. Like there's only like excerpts of this story that they're going to be telling us. And also there's a bunch of dragons, and that's always cool. Yes.
Okay. So as far as you know, Benioff and Wise are not involved.
Nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with it. Thank God.
Because a bunch of arrogant Fs they are,
Yes.
aren't they?
Yes. Definitely Benioff. DB Weiss I could deal with a bit. Benioff is an arrogant, egotistical prick. And you can tell him I said that, people.
Yeah. Well, I think everyone agrees. You want to punch him in the face. I mean,
yes.
Well, people just need to look and see how brilliant I am.
He is one of those people. Like when you're adapting a story and you take credit for something George wrote as your own, which he has done.
Yes. When we came up with this idea, it's like, it wasn't you douchebag.
Oh, I can't stand that ass.
Yeah. He brings out the worst in me.
I think he brings out the worst in many people.
Yeah.
I can't stand that prick. Anything else with Sansa though?
Oh.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. Just I do find it interesting that the people, like the general population, see that as a dragon's tail, like they associate it potentially with the Targaryens.
Yes.
So I thought that was pretty cool.
Made me think of Daenerys.
Yes.
I mean, yeah.
Well, what gets me with that is they don't care who sits the Iron Throne unless if the rule is good. And since the Baratheons have taken over, it has not been good.
Yep. Yeah, they think of Targaryens and go, Grandpa, tell me about the good old days.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Though they, him getting the news, telling the news about Viserys getting the molten gold poured over his head, and him also thinking it's funny that a dragon died by molten gold. Something that kind of Dany remarks to in that chapter.
Yep.
So it's a good chapter. We hear how Rob's doing. We see how Sansa's being treated and how she's dealing with it. We do learn about Dantos, the fool. She saves his life, which comes into play.
Everyone else's too, because that nut said he was going to have them all killed.
Yeah.
Make you not want to be an attorney with them around.
Yeah, no. Definitely no. He is a psycho. He is definitely a psycho.
Aye.
All right, though. We will jump on to Tyrion and finish off the last chapter. Let me get my little Tyrion picture here. Pre-nose. There we go. All right. Outside the small council chamber, Sir Mandan Moore insists that Queen Cersei has left orders not to be disturbed. Tyrion quibs that he will only be a small disturbance and produces his letter from Lord Tywin Lannister. Sir Mandan remains unimpressed and expressionless, a trait which makes Jaime Lannister consider him the most dangerous of the Kingsguard besides himself, since his face never hints at his next action. Refusing to back down on his first day, Tyrion introduces Bronn and Timett. After Sir Mandon learns that Bronn killed Sir Vardis Egan, he allows Tyrion to enter. Tyrion relishes that he has passed his first test. When Cersei sees him, she exclaims, "You," with equal parts disbelief and distaste. Taking care to act confident in front of her, Tyrion remarks that he can see where Joffrey learned his courtesies. When Cersei asks why he is there, Tyrion saunters over to deliver their Lord Father's letter. Varys inspects the seal and proclaims it's genuine before Cersei snatches it. Cersei has taken the king's seat, so Tyrion takes the hand's chair, which seems only appropriate. Cersei declares the letter absurd and explains that her father has authorized Tyrion to act as hand of the king in his absence. Grand Maester Parcells offers greetings, and Lord Janos Slynt declares that there is need of Tyrion with riding in the streets and a grim omen in the sky. Cersei lashes out that Slant is the one in charge of keeping order, that Tyrion would serve them better on the battlefield. Tyrion replies that he is done with fighting, preferring the finer things in life. Littlefinger declares Tyrion a man after his own heart, which reminds Tyrion that he must have a talk with Littlefinger about a certain dagger used in an attempt on Bran Stark's life. Cersei is not happy to learn that Tyrion has brought only a few hundred men. She is worried that Stannis or Renly Baratheon will attack the city. Then she declares that only the king can name a hand, and Joffrey has named Lord Tywin. Tyrion points out that Lord Tywin named him and recommends that Cersei take it up with him at Harrenhal. Tyrion requests a private moment with Cersei, and the other counselors excuse themselves as he leaves. Littlefinger asks about living arrangement. Tyrion says he plans to take up residence in the Tower of the Hand. Littlefinger declares Tyrion a braver man than him, considering the fate of the last two hands. Tyrion corrects this to 4, explaining that Aerys' last hand died in the sack of King's Landing, and the one before him was burned to death. The two before them were luckier in that they merely died penniless in exile. Littlefinger jabbed that in the case he would sooner bed down in the dungeons than the Tower of the Hand, and Tyrion privately thinks that Littlefinger might get that wish. Once they're alone, Cersei asks why their father would ignore her royal command and inflict Tyrion on her. Tyrion points out that Lord Tywin has a large army and can do that, nor is he the first to do so. Cersei threatens to call the letter a forgery and throw Tyrion in a dungeon. Tyrion agrees that no one, not even their father, would protest, but asks why Cersei would want to do such a thing when he comes to help. Cersei insists that it was their father's help she wanted, but Tyrion can tell that it is Jaime she really wants. So he promises that if she supports him, he will find a way to free Jaime. Cersei asks how, given that Robb and Catelyn are not likely to forget the beheading of Lord Eddard. Tyrion notes that Cersei still holds the Stark daughters, forcing Cersei to reveal that she only has Sansa. She sent Sir Meryn Trent to apprehend Arya, but her dancing master interfered and the girl escaped and is likely dead. Tyrion asks Cersei if she trusts the small council since her father does not. Joffrey's short reign has been full of follies and disasters, which suggests the king is getting some very bad counsel. Cersei concedes that Joffrey, always willful, now believes that as king he is free to do as he pleases, not as he is bid. She explains that Joffrey was instructed to allow Eddard Stark to take the Black, but took it upon himself to order Eddard killed, and Janos Slynt and Sir Palin were quick to take command. Cersei also mentioned that as a result, the High Septon is accusing them of lying to him and profaning the great sept of Baelor. Tyrion then questioned Cersei about Slynt, asking whose idea was it to make him Lord of Harrenhal and a member of the small council. Cersei replies that Littlefinger made the arrangements. They needed the gold cloaks on their side to stop Eddard Stark before he handed the throne over to Stannis Baratheon. Cersei added that it was close enough so all might have been lost if Sansa had not come to Cersei with her father's plan. Tyrion expresses surprise that Sansa would betray her own father's plans, but Cersei explained that the girl was in love with Joffrey and would have done anything for him right up until he cut her father's head off and called it mercy. Tyrion also learned it was Varys who suggests her Barristan Selmy be removed from the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard when Joffrey wanted to blame someone for Robert's death. It freed the Lord Commander's post and council seat for Jaime and allowed Joffrey to throw a bone to the Hound. And generous severance was provided, but Selmy would have none of it and fled the city. Tyrion notes that he heard Selmy slew the 2 gold cloaks sent to apprehend him, which Cersei blames on Slint's incompetence. Tyrion points out that Barristan the Bold is a living legend who lends credibility to any man that he serves. Cersei admits she did not think of that. Tyrion points out that their father did, and that is why he sent Tyrion to bring Joffrey to heal. Cersei argues that Joffrey will not more tractable for Tyrion, but Tyrion points out that Joffrey might be more inclined to listen if he feels threatened, something he doesn't feel with her. Cersei insists that she will never let Tyrion harm her son, but Tyrion assures her that he only means to threaten. Cersei admits it is worth a try, but remains adamant that Tyrion do nothing without her consent. Tyrion agrees and asks for an honest answer to who killed Jon Arrys. Cersei tells him she doesn't know. Goes on to say that Eddard Stark asked her the same question and hinted that Jon Arryn suspected her of something she hesitates to mention. Tyrion earns a slap in the face when he reveals that he knew about her incest with Jaime all along. Tyrion insists that he is not as blind as their father, makes several rude comments that earns him more slaps until he finally warns her that he is getting angry. Wow, this is long. Tyrion asks how King Robert was killed. Cersei explains that Lancel Lannister gave him strong wine, 3 times the normal potency before he faced the boar, which Cersei claims tasted like triumph when it was served at Robert's funeral feast. Tyrion, who rather liked King Robert, comments that Cersei was born to be a widow as he rises to lead. Cersei objects that she has not excused him and presses for details about how he will free Jaime. Tyrion tells her he has doesn't know yet, but reminds her to make sure no harm comes to Sansa. Outside, Timon has disappeared to explore the city, so Tyrion commands Bronn to find him and make arrangements for the clansmen in the barracks beneath the Tower of the Hand. Tyrion commands Vylar, the captain of Cersei's household guard, to provide an escort for him to the Broken Anvil Inn, hoping to remind the captain that his oath is to Castle Rock and not to Cersei alone. As he leaves the Rakiv, Tyrion orders the spiked head of Eddard Stark and the household taken down and given to the Silent Sisters. When Valar hesitates because King Joffrey ordered them to remain, Tyrion warns him that if they are not removed, one of the spikes will have his head. As they ride through the city, Tyrion notices the effect the war has had on the common folk. The markets are full of ragged men selling their household goods, but bare of farmers selling food. There are guards at every shop. And Tyrion notes that sometimes even bakers find sellsword cheaper than bread. Vylar confirms that very little food is coming into the city with the roads closed to the southwest. Tyrion asks what Cersei has done and is told she has tripled the city watch and has 1,000 of craftsmen working on the defense, including the Alchemist Guild, which has pledged 10,000 jars of wildfire. The thought of so much wildfire makes Tyrion uncomfortable, and he asks where the money is coming from, given that Robert beggared the realm. Vylar explains that Littlefinger has introduced a tax on the entire city. Tyrion says this clever and cruel, since tens of thousands are fleeing the war for the supposed safety of the capital. When they arrive at the inn, he dismisses Valar and says he plans to stay the night. Oh my God, this is long. Inside, Tyrion finds Shay. She said there were black ears and Varys. Tyrion is irritated. Varys found Shay quickly and wonders who might he betray. Varys says that he had sudden urge to meet Tyrion's young lady, and Tyrion realizes that the eunuch is indirectly threatening him. The two exchange some veiled threats before Varys asks Tyrion has seen the red comet. Tyrion replies that he is short, not blind. On the King's Road, it seems to cover half the sky and outshine the moon. Varys tells Tyrion that on the streets it's called the Red Messenger, a herald before a king to warn of fire blood to follow. Before Varys leaves, he poses a riddle to Tyrion. In a room sits three great men, a king, a priest, and a rich man with his gold. Between them stands a sellsword, a little man of common birth and no great mind. Each of the great ones bid him slay the other two. Do it, says the king, for I am your lawful ruler. Do it, says the priest, for I command you in the name of God. Do it, says the rich man, and all the gold shall be yours. So tell me, who lives and who dies? Once Varys is gone, Shay asks if it is the rich man who lives. Tyrion is not sure, saying it depends on the sellsword. As they climb the stairs to the room, Shay has to wait for Tyrion. Tyrion knows that he still has to look up to her, even though she is only 5 feet tall. But he doesn't mind that. She's so sweet. She quickly strips and teases Tyrion with her while never being able to sleep in the Tower of the Hand without masturbating, and asks if that is why they call it the Tower of the Hand. She drags him to the bed and they make fierce love. Afterwards, Tyrion calls himself a fool. Shay is a whore, and only after his coin. When Shay asks what Tyrion will do as the Hand of the King, he tells her something Cersei would never expect. I'll do justice. Wait, okay, somebody else talk for a bit.
Well, I loved that scene where Tyrion was saying, oh, so like, you all are screwing, and then she smacks him or says, and then he's like, but I never understood why I didn't get to screw you or something, like since you're screwing brothers. I forget how he phrased it, but and then she just kept smacking him.
Something about opening legs or something.
Yeah, I mean, it was classic. And then it got to the point where, gosh, my brain just fried. Was he the one that was getting mad, or she was the one that was getting mad? That made him stop.
He started getting mad after she was slapping him often.
Oh, okay. And so then she stopped, because it's like, oh wait, eventually you can only take Tyrion so far.
Right. Were you guys able to hear me? Because everybody's saying that the whole time I was Robo-Spork.
I could hear you. It was just speeding up and slowing down. I mean, it was,
Oh, okay.
But I could hear
it's so weird.
I thought it was me.
So weird. I read it. No, that's me. Robo-Spork lives. Don't worry, my new computer, hopefully right after Christmas or right at the beginning of the new year. So yay for us. Damn it. All right. Let's try that. Let me I'm gonna back out and I'll be right back. You guys just keep talking about this chapter. I'm sorry, but I just want to see if it clears stuff up.
No problem.
That's okay. I actually like that conversation between Tyrion and Cersei, where he was talking about the politics, basically how the country was being run under Joffrey's leadership so poorly, that their father basically sent him there to get some things straight, because it seemed there was nothing going right. And Cersei's excuse was, well, I can't do anything with him. He was like, this is your kid.
Yeah.
And she has zero influence, zero control. And I did also like that Tyrion's response was, of course, he's not going to listen to you because he's not afraid of you. And then he proceeds to basically be a lion and start taking some control over what's happening in this kingdom.
Yes.
So I thought that entire scene was great.
Yes. Yeah. And if I'm correct, I think is that the first time we've seen really serious, Tyrion and Cersei really get into it and tangle like that.
I think so, and it was definitely the first time I think we've seen her concede any point, you know. And granted, he had to bargain for it, but she actually yielded to him on some points and is going to give him the space he needs to do what he needs to do to try to help the kingdom, but also her son perhaps get off of this path that he's on.
Yeah.
But she knows it's problematic. I mean, she knows.
Yeah. She knows that they got themselves a handful.
Yeah.
It's shocking that she'll admit it to him. Right. You know, like that must be how hard how she has no hand on ruling Joffrey, because she's actually admitting to Tyrion, you know, like I can't control him.
Mm-hmm.
And how when he beheaded Eddard Stark, how Janos Slynt and Sir Ilan Payne jumped to it. And it makes you wonder, maybe not with Payne, but Slynt, who he's really working for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's not good.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, yeah, we also know that's, you know, who got put on the small council at Littlefinger's influence.
Yep.
Which suggests that he has a greater influence than even Cersei.
Right.
Which is a very serious problem that she should see.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, and then I was also struck about Varys finding Shay so quickly.
He is good.
Yes.
And like his blatant threatening of her.
Right.
You know. And then, you know, Varys being the one that said they should let Selmy, you know, retire Selmy to make room for Jaime and the Hound. Mm-hmm. You know, he's always doing something. Now, oh God, I can't go into it. Damn it. But you would think Selmy, like Tyrion said, Selmy lends credibility to whatever ruler he is working for. Mm-hmm. So Varys got rid of him. What does that say?
Right.
You know? Thought that was interesting. A lot going on in this chapter. But really, it's just Tyrion trying to, you know, make his claim to being the Hand and making sure that people know he is going to be the Hand.
Right.
Yeah.
And the most important thing was getting Cersei's backing. And about, you know, and right away she's like, so how are you going to get Jaime? You know, if I'm backing you, how are you going to get him? And he's like, I have no clue yet.
Mm-hmm.
But she knows he's smart. She knows he'll figure it out.
Right. She doesn't want to give him credit, but she knows he could.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, Tyrion makes the comment about, you know, Tywin could do what he wants to do because he has the biggest army.
Yeah.
And then you got Varys bringing up almost like the question about that. You know, the king, the priest, and the guy with a lot of money. And Tyrion was smart to say, it depends on the sellsword.
Mm-hmm.
Because you might have a sellsword that thinks, oh, it's the king. You know, this is the best thing for me. You know, or, oh, I can get all this gold. That's the best thing for me. Most people would probably say, I would say the gold. You know, what would you guys say?
I think that Tyrion I think his answer was the correct answer. And I think the message was that you don't know who the sellsword is actually beholden to. It could be someone else entirely.
Yeah. Right. And that it always brings me back to Bronn.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what is Bronn's real plan? Why is he there? Is it for the gold? Is it because he likes the gold and Tyrion? Or is there another reason he showed up?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yep. And don't forget, Tyrion, or I'm sorry, Bronn brought Shay to Tyrion.
Mm.
Yeah, and we still don't know from where.
Exactly. Always wonder about that one too.
Yep.
Let me look at the book real quick and see if there's anything that jumps out at me while we.
Yeah.
One thing about the comment was that we get another perspective on what the people think. They call it the Red Messenger. That it's a warning of fire and blood.
Mm.
And what's that?
A herald before a king and all this.
Yeah. But fire and blood is also Targaryen.
Targaryen.
You know,
Yeah.
to Targaryen words. Once again, we get that dragon or Targaryen representation from the comet.
Mm-hmm. And from Varys.
Mm-hmm. You see, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, yeah, that this comet, it's like it's so friggin' obvious. At least it is to me. Maybe it's because of my God view watching these shows. Reading these books. But it's like, come on, dorks. If it has a meaning, what do you think it means? Of course, it means something with the Targaryens,
right?
And I think Varys may, in fact, be lying here. I don't think that that's necessarily what the people on the streets are saying. I think that's what Varys is saying.
Exactly.
Ooh. Yeah, kind of like one of those. Well, some people say this.
Exactly. I like how Tyrion's looking into already, like, who's Lord Slint? You know, why was he granted Harrenhal? Like, he's already trying to gather information on everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And how shocked he was to hear that Sansa wrote the letter and gave her the information, or gave her the information of, you know, the hand trying to take the kids and, you know, put Stannis on the throne.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Freaking Sansa.
It's all her fault.
It's all her fault. I blame her for everything. Her and Cat.
I was about ready to say, we're blaming Cat for it.
No. Teresa, I'm not going to let her off. No, Cat and Sansa.
Well, I'll tell you what. I noticed something during the sex part with Shay, where Tyrion once again thought of his wife,
right,
the prostitute, and was thinking, oh, Shay can't really be that into me. And then he was like, I don't want to get graphic here, but, you know, he put his hand and she responded or something. And he took that as maybe more than it meant. Because I remember going, dude, that doesn't mean she loves you.
Right.
And it kind of came off to me as kind of pathetic.
Yeah, well, it is pathetic because he doesn't, ever since his wife, he found out his wife, air quotes, is a prostitute, air quotes. He doesn't trust that anybody, mostly a whore, can love him, but yet he's falling for her, even though he told himself not to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think it's because he wants to be loved. I mean, he's giving her what he wants back. He just doesn't see, perhaps, that she can't, because she's not really interested in him. She wouldn't be.
Yeah. Where is that?
She's being paid.
Yep.
This is her job.
He goes, "Fool," he thought to himself afterwards, as they lay in the center of the sagging mattress amidst the rumpled sheets. "Will you never learn, dwarf? She's a whore. Damn you, it's your coin she loves, not your cock. Remember Taisha." Yet when his fingers trailed lightly over her one nipple, it stiffened at his touch, and he could see the mark on her breasts where he'd bitten her in his passion. So like, even though he's telling himself this, touching her and seeing her react makes him like, there's maybe a chance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I do love his last words. I'll do something my sister never expected. I'll do justice.
Oh,
Tyrion,
yeah.
He's the best. He really is.
Nice. Yeah.
I love Tyrion.
Yeah,
really
they
like Tywin.
Yeah, they feck it up so badly.
Yeah.
If they'd have just let him alone.
I know. And we will see that as we go on. It's just, he plays the game perfectly, and he's doing the right things.
Mm-hmm.
And that might be against somebody who actually likes him as a person, but will be his adversary because Tyrion does such a good job.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So we will see in chapters ahead how that works out. Anything else with this chapter?
I think
That's it.
we covered it pretty well. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of things also being put into place for a bit later.
Yep. I do like the connection with these three chapters are the three characters playing their role.
Mm-hmm.
You got Arya playing the boy, Sansa playing the the betrothed, love interest, who respects her king and hates her traitor brother and mother. And you have Tyrion playing the role of the hand and also the lover, so like they all kind of feel like they're not supposed to be doing this, but they go along with it because their lives kind of depend on it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I find that interesting how George ties that together in these, just right off the rip, in these three chapters.
Mm.
He is so good.
Yep.
He's so good.
He's so good. I
He's
can't
so
wait
good
to read
when
the
he
next book.
writes.
Oh, I know. We will have the next book next year. We will have the next book next year.
Oh, that's what I thought too. Maybe because he said he would.
We were supposed to have it at the end of this year. I'm hoping by this time next year, we're going through Winds of Winter chapters.
I believe we will.
Because I'll tell you right now, everybody, when Winds of Winter comes out, this book club is on hold for that. We are going straight to the Winds of Winter, chapter by chapter, probably one chapter at a time.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to be dissecting that book. Because I am thirsty for it. I just can't wait.
Well, it's been like 10 years.
It's going to be so awesome. It's going to be so awesome. And I'm hoping that people come back and remember how great these books really are. That show really screwed the pooch when it comes to this amazing book series. And George kind of screwed the pooch, taking so freaking long to write the second to last book.
Yeah.
We have 2 books left, George. Come to us. Help us.
Make it happen.
Make it happen.
No, he's sitting there going, ha 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 ha. I'm gonna write something on my blog to tick everybody off. That's all he's planning right now.
He's such a troll.
I know, I hate his guts. Oh,
he
that
so trolls everybody.
That came out harsher than I thought.
He put on his blog that he was reading other books. I'm like, you have a book to write.
Yeah,
sir.
Exactly.
Guess what? I'm not reading any other books. I'm waiting.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, the Time Prophet has the best comment ever.
What George is taking? That one?
Yeah.
George is taking longer, so he dies before the book review comes out. Some people really believe that. So there are people who said it. They believe that he's going to die, and the 2 books is post-mortem.
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't believe that.
Well, that
I
would
don't
actually be the greatest troll ever if he's actually is done with both of them and he's just waiting to die. And that's
Yep.
why he's trolling us on his blog, going, ha, 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 ha.
Yeah. Oh my God, can you just imagine that? But like, because you know he has enough material for 2 books. He's been writing for years. I don't care what anybody says. I mean, how many chapters have we already read? We have 2. Let's see. We have 2 from the Princess of Dorne, 2 Arya, I think. We have the Forsaken. That's 5 right there. We have a Tyrion, 2 or 1 or 2 Tyrion chapters. Barristan, 2 Barristan chapters. I mean, we probably already have like 12 or 13 chapters released.
But he's rewriting them, he said.
I know. If he touches the Forsaken, I'm going to be so mad. Such a good chapter. Oh, that chapter is awesome. And I'm hoping that Gary from Nerdrotic releases his reading of it. I support Gary now through YouTube, but when I supported him through Patreon, he released him reading The Forsaken on there, and it's really good. It's really good, and I hope he releases it soon. He needs to. Release it on Nerdrotic Live, man, if you don't want to release it on your own. It's so worth it. I think people will really enjoy that. And hopefully soon enough, we'll be able to talk to him about Winds of Winter, or I'm willing to do after shows. I hope you guys are going to be willing when the House of the Dragon happens. Live after shows of that. So hopefully we'll get back into a role with Game of Thrones once a book and a show is released. Oh my God, that would be so nice.
Yeah. So do we have an ETA on the House of the Dragon?
Early 2022, I think, or late 2021.
Oh boy.
I mean, they're still casting, so it could be, April of 2022, like kind of like they did the other show.
Okay.
It's so far away.
Yeah, I'm not holding my breath.
Me either.
I think, though, we have a better chance of actually seeing that show happen than the Winds of Winter book.
Oof.
I think we'll get Winds of Winter.
We're going to get the books. He's finishing the books.
He
is. That's it. Positive thoughts here on Sporky News Podcast for once. All right. We're going to call it a night. Thank you, everybody in the chat. You guys rock. Tina does say definitely doing the live after shows. I'm definitely doing them.
Absolutely.
So you guys are invited. It'll be fun.
Oh, thank you.
I know I talked to Gary about that when we thought the shows would be out way sooner. So hopefully he'll be able to stop in on some.
They had to scrap the first one. They did film.
The
pilot.
The pilot, right?
Yeah, it must have been really, really bad.
Oh my God, huh? I know the show ended bad, but how bad did that pilot have to be that they didn't want to order a first season?
I know.
So
I want to see it now.
I do too.
Just to see how bad it was.
It's kind of like I want to see the original pilot for Game of Thrones. When you had the different Dany and stuff.
Yeah.
I have seen this is way going off track, but the Big Bang Theory has a pilot without Penny, a different Penny. What? That's a weird pilot. I've seen that one. But it'd be kind of cool to see the original Game of Thrones one and then this other one that they made. I mean, they had Naomi Watts, right? Like, she's a good actress.
Yeah, so it must have been like a terrible, terrible script.
The plot was terrible.
I mean, script. Sorry, I said script. I'm sorry, I just laughed. I glitched because I saw the Mackany 90 said, subscribe to Lady Teresa of House Martin. I was like, what the
and I am Sir Scott of House Spork.
Okay. I didn't know that we had full titles on here. That's awesome.
I'm telling you, one of these days, Machine's going to make me a sigil. I can't wait. It's going to be a Spork sigil.
Nice.
It'll be awesome. All right, we're going to call it wraps. Thank you, everybody. Teresa, Miss Martin Muses, would you like to tell them where they can find you?
You can find me at Miss Martin Muses here on YouTube, where I talk about what makes me laugh, makes me cry, makes me happy, makes me sad, or just really ticks me off. And you can also find me on Twitter, Teresa_Martin.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And Jayne Theory.
Yes, you can find me here on YouTube, where I post movie and television reviews and pop culture news. You can also find me on Twitter and Instagram and Parler at Jayne Theory.
Thank you, Jayne. And thank you to everybody. Catch the Humpty Dump on Wednesday, starting at 7:30 this week. Moving back to my usual times, I think 7:15, 7:30 starts. And our guest this week was our supposed to be last week guest is Curie Howard, who is awesome. And we'll probably have her talk about a little cyberpunk, because that's what she's into. And we'll see how it goes. And make sure you guys check out TR4 tomorrow night on the author Stephen Walton's channel. And tonight, which already started, the Place to Be Reviews is probably having his live show. So check him out. ETEP, member of Rogue Entertainment. And I hope you all have a great night. We're going to put a spork in it because we are done. And this goes out to my members. Thank you guys very much.